number one radio.
Yeah. Okay.
Maga first.
Yeah. Okay.
I should have smacked the fuck out of him right now, y'all. Smack the fuck out of him right now. Fuck Trump.
Okay.
Right now. But I ain't.
So am I.
Right now. That's what racism look like.
I'm not racist.
Hey, then make Trump America great again. That's a racist saying.
No, it's not.
That's all it is.
Making America great again is
That's
all
all
about
it
for
is,
everybody.
That's
It's not a
all it
racist
is.
thing.
Smack the fuck out you
It's
right
not a
now.
racist saying. Because my biracial husband would come and smack the hell out of you, so, you know. Oh, yeah, he would. So, we're not trying to get in fights, so. You can put me, my name is Peter Boykin. Look me up on Twitter, at Peter Boykin, president of Gays for Trump. I'm not hiding. Got it in my face like you want me out. You got it in my face like you want me
I
out.
would really smack the fuck out you right now.
Dude, go on somewhere.
I'm
not trying to get in an argument with you.
You're racist, yo.
I'm not a racist. I live in a multicultural neighborhood and I have people who come to
This
my
fucking
door
hat
all
is
day
racist.
long.
Fuck you, I'll smack you.
Well, nice having conversation with y'all. No, these people want us out to argue. Of course not. Nobody's a Nazi.
Milo's a Nazi.
Milo's is not a Nazi.
Oh, you know, you're putting
Milo
the hat
is
down.
Milo
Keep
is
the hat
Jewish.
on, man.
No,
Put the fucking hat on.
No, we're gonna change
Put the
that.
fucking hat on. Come on.
Stop.
Come on, eh?
No,
Hold on.
I put American hat on.
There you go. There you go.
So what? It's
Fuck
America.
Donald Trump.
But y'all can have your day. Enjoy.
Yeah, no, we got our day.
Whatever.
We got our fucking day.
Enjoy your day. Enjoy your day.
Have your day. What is that, dude? Get your fucking day.
Enjoy your day.
Did you ever feel so bad inside? You are doomed into Maga first news with Peter Boykin on Maga One
What happened? We find out next on Maga First News. We find out next on Maga First News.
Hi, folks. This is Peter Boykin from MAGA First News. Thank you for tuning in. This week, we're going to discuss Durham, North Carolina. This is a little bit of an add-on from what happened in Charlottesville the week before. So we, as you know, might have noticed, the new format of the show is I try to concentrate on at least one major subject a week. And between Charlottesville the previous week and now Durham, North Carolina, there's been a lot of subjects to talk about. And for those, as you'll see in this show, you're going to see some information about, hey, what happened in Durham, North Carolina. I've got clips and videos from that. A lot to listen to. A lot of it on the radio, you're going to hear a lot of sights and sounds. But you will, you'll hear a lot of sights and sounds, but you'll hear what's going on. If you watch the video, you're going to see exactly what's going on in Durham, North Carolina. And this thing is spreading. There's also Boston that went on. We might include a few clips on Boston as well. But the main fact is, in this show, we will show on location where I went to Durham, North Carolina, to read Milo's dangerous book in a dangerous spot, which is hashtag reading dangerously or dangerously reading. But how it turned into a peaceful reading. To me, one conservative, happened to be a gay person, Republican, happened to be white, non-racist, non-KKK, furthest from that. Believe me, I'm Catholic and I'm gay. The Ku Klux Klan would not be interested in me. We would be fighting on the same side against the Klan. But I wanted to show and change the narrative that a conservative gay, Republican supporting, Trump supporter could go somewhere, such violent place, where they were worried about the Klan showing up, and peacefully protest. And not just the protest because of that statue. I was actually protesting more against the violence and the vandalism that happened. I would have been there just as easily for one of the other statues there. So this week you're going to see the clip, you're going to see some of the Periscope video I've gone over, and you're going to see how Durham police took care of this. Which you're also going to see how we're going to continue this story. Next week we'll move on to a different subject, but this story will be ongoing, it seems. So tune in this week and pay attention, because we have to take back America. So this is Peter Boykin from Maga First News, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Do you plan to go to Charlottesville, Mr. President?
Do you think you're helping to heal the nation?
I own a house in Charlottesville.
Will you go to
Does anyone know I own a house in Charlottesville? I'm not putting anybody on a moral plane. What I'm saying is this. You had a group on one side and you had a group on the other, and they came at each other with clubs, and it was vicious, and it was horrible, and it was a horrible thing to watch. But there is another side. There was a group on this side, you can call them the left, or you've just called them the left, that came violently attacking the other group. So you can say what you want, but that's the way it is.
It's on both sides, sir. You said there was hatred, there was violence on both sides.
Well, I do think there's blame. Yes, I think there's blame on both sides. You look at both sides. I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either. And if you reported it accurately, you would say.
Neo-Nazis started this. They showed up in Charlottesville. They showed up in Charlottesville to protest.
Excuse me. They didn't put themselves down as you. And you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name. No, George Washington was a slave owner. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down, excuse me, are we going to take down statues to George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him? Okay, good. Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. Now we're going to take down his statue. So you know what? It's fine. You're changing history, you're changing culture, and you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly. Now, in the other group also, you had some fine people, but you also had troublemakers, and you see them come with the black outfits and with the helmets and with the baseball bats. You had a lot of bad people in the other group. Go ahead.
Do you think that what you call the alt-left is the same as neo-Nazis?
Those people, all of those people, excuse me, I've condemned neo-Nazis. I've condemned many different groups, but not all of those people were neo-Nazis, believe me. Not all of those people were white supremacists by any stretch. Those people were also there because they wanted to protest the taking down of a statue, Robert E. Lee. So, excuse me, and you take a look at some of the groups and you see, and you know it if you were honest reporters, which in many cases you're not, but many of those people were there to protest the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. So, this week it's Robert E. Lee. I noticed that Stonewall Jackson's coming down. I wonder, is it George Washington next week, and is it Thomas Jefferson the week after? You know, you really do have to ask yourself, where does it stop? But they were there to protest, excuse me, you take a look the night before, they were there to protest the taking down of the statue. But many of those people were there to protest the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. So, this week it's Robert E. Lee. I noticed that Stonewall Jackson's coming down. I wonder, is it George Washington next week? The driver of the car is a disgrace to himself, his family, and this country. And that is, you can call it terrorism, you can call it murder, you can call it whatever you want. I would just call it as the fastest one to come up with a good verdict. That's what I'd call it. Because there is a question, is it murder, is it terrorism? And then you get into legal semantics. The driver of the car is a murderer, and what he did was a horrible, horrible, inexcusable thing.
He said that the alt-right is behind these attacks, and he linked that same group to those who perpetrated the attack in Charlottesville.
Well, I don't know. I can't tell you. I'm sure Senator McCain must know what he's talking about. But when you say the alt-right, define alt-right to me. You define it. Go ahead.
Well, I'm saying,
define it for me. Come on, let's go.
Senator McCain defined them as the same group.
Okay, what about the alt-left that came charging at it? Excuse me. What about the alt-left that came charging at the, as you say, the alt-right? Do they have any semblance of guilt?
This is Senator McCain's statement.
Let me ask you this. What about the fact that they came charging with clubs in their hands, swinging clubs? Do they have any problem? I think they do. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, that was a horrible, horrible day. Wait a minute. I'm not finished. I'm not finished, fake news. That was a horrible day. I will tell you something. I watched those very closely, much more closely than you people watched it. And you have, you had a group on one side that was bad, and you had a group on the other side that was also very violent. And nobody wants to say that, but I'll say it right now. You had a group on the other side that came charging in without a permit, and they were very, very violent.
He said that the alt-right is behind these attacks, and he linked that same group to those who perpetrated the attack in Charlottesville.
Well, I don't know. I can't tell you. I'm sure Senator McCain must know what he's talking about. But when you say the alt-right, define alt-right to me. You define it. Go ahead.
Well, I'm saying,
define it for me. Come on, let's go.
Senator McCain defined them as the same group.
Okay, what about the alt-left that came charging at it? Excuse me. What about the alt-left that came charging at the, as you say, the alt-right? Do they have any semblance of guilt?
This is Senator McCain's statement.
Let me ask you this. What about the fact they came charging with clubs in their hands, swinging clubs? Do they have any problem? I think they do. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, that was a horrible, horrible day. Wait a minute. I'm not finished. I'm not finished, fake news. That was a horrible day. I will tell you something. I watched those very closely, much more closely than you people watched it. And you have, you had a group on one side that was bad, and you had a group on the other side that was also very violent. And nobody wants to say that, but I'll say it right now. You had a group on the other side that came charging in without a permit, and they were very, very violent.
Why did you wait so long last week?
I didn't wait long. I didn't wait long. I didn't wait long. I wanted to make sure, unlike most politicians, that what I said was correct, not make a quick statement. The statement I made on Saturday, the first statement, was a fine statement, but you don't make statements that direct unless you know the fact. It takes a little while to get the facts. You still don't know the facts. And it's a very, very important process to me, and it's a very important statement. So I don't want to go quickly and just make a statement for the sake of making a political statement. I want to know the facts. If you go back to my, in fact, I brought it.
Who did you bring?
As I said on, remember this, Saturday, we condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. It has no place in America. And then I went on from there. Now, here's the thing. As to, excuse me, take it nice and easy. Here's the thing. When I make a statement, I like to be correct. I want the facts. This event just happened. In fact, a lot of the event didn't even happen yet as we were speaking. This event just happened. Before I make a statement, I need the facts. So I don't want to rush into a statement. So making the statement when I made it was excellent. In fact, the young woman, who I hear is a fantastic young woman, and it was on NBC, her mother wrote me and said, through, I guess, Twitter, social media, the nicest things, and I very much appreciated that. I hear she was a fine, really actually an incredible young woman, but her mother on Twitter thanked me for what I said. And honestly, if the press were not fake, and if it was honest, the press would have said what I said was very nice. But unlike you and unlike the media, before I make a statement, I like to know the facts. I wanted to make sure, unlike most politicians, that what I said was correct, not make a quick statement. The statement I made on Saturday, the first statement, was a fine statement, but you don't make statements that direct unless you know the fact. It takes a little while to get the facts. You still don't know the facts. And it's a very, very important process to me, and it's a very important statement. So I don't want to go quickly and just make a statement for the sake of making a political statement. I want to know the facts. If you go back to my, in fact, I brought it. As I said on, remember this, Saturday, we condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. It has no place in America. And then I went on from there. Now, here's the thing. As to, excuse me, take it nice and easy. Here's the thing. When I make a statement, I like to be correct. I want the facts. This event just happened. In fact, a lot of the event didn't even happen yet as we were speaking. This event just happened. Before I make a statement, I need the facts. So I don't want to rush into a statement. So making the statement when I made it was excellent. In fact, the young woman, who I hear is a fantastic young woman, and it was on NBC, her mother wrote me and said, through, I guess, Twitter, social media, the nicest things, and I very much appreciated that. I had to see the facts, unlike a lot of reporters. I didn't know David Duke was there. I wanted to see the facts. And the facts, as they started coming out, were very well stated. In fact, everybody said his statement was beautiful. If he would have made it sooner, that would have been good. I couldn't have made it sooner because I didn't know all of the facts. Frankly, people still don't know all of the facts. It was very important, excuse me. It was very important to me to get the facts out and correctly. Because if I would have made a fast statement, and the first statement was made without knowing much other than what we were seeing. The second statement was made after, with knowledge, with great knowledge. There's still things, there's still things that people don't know. I want to make a statement with knowledge. I wanted to know the facts. Okay.
Was this two questions. Was this terrorism, and can you tell us how you're feeling about your chief strategist?
Well, I think the driver of the car is a disgrace to himself, his family, and this country. And that is, you can call it terrorism, you can call it murder, you can call it whatever you want. I would just call it as the fastest one to come up with a good verdict. That's what I'd call it. Because there is a question. Is it murder? Is it terrorism? And then you get into legal semantics. The driver of the car is a murderer. And what he did was a horrible.
Democrats obstructing, the media attacking our president, career politicians standing in the way of success. But President Trump's plan is working. 1 million jobs created. More Americans working than ever before. Unemployment lowest since 2001. The stock market, all-time record highs. The strongest military in decades. The president's enemies don't want him to succeed. But Americans are saying, let President Trump do his job.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Thank you for tuning back in with Maga First News with Peter Boykin. So what just happened? What happened in Durham, North Carolina? Well, I printed out this information a long, long time ago in Durham, North Carolina. On the morning of May 10th, 1924, some 60 elderly Confederate veterans gathered at the Durham County Courthouse to witness the unveiling of a monument dedicated to their Civil War deeds. Hundreds packed themselves inside the courthouse, which was decked out in Confederate flags to celebrate the, quote, heroes in gray, and a bronze statue that cost the county several thousands of dollars. Nearly 60 years had passed since the end of the war. The veterans were bent with age, many losing their memories. They had traveled from as near as Chapel Hill and as far as South Boston, Virginia. It's a good little distance for 1924, and that's a lot of money for 1924. They cried with happiness and pride as they saw the statue, a perpetuation of their memory and their deeds, the Durham Morning Herald reported. The newspaper, the predecessor of the Herald Sun, called the ceremony the most interesting and important event in the lives of Durham County Confederate veterans since the surrender of General Johnson's forces to the General Sherman at the Bennett Place in 1865. To pay for the statue, the county set aside 0.5% of the county's taxes, a special provision the state legislature had to permit in a bill. The keynote speaker, General Albert L. Cox of Raleigh, a World War I veteran, told the crowd that whenever they passed the monument, they should pause and reflect upon what Confederate soldiers had done for them. Regardless of what you stand and how people stand on history, these were our brothers and sisters in America. We can talk about slavery, we can talk about things, we can talk about racism and stuff, but we were talking about who they were. They were still Americans. As it said, Confederate States of America, they still believe themselves as veterans, Americans. Yes, they weren't on the proper the good side. And they lost. They lost. We can go into that discussion all day long, but we're just stating the facts. So the city put that up. They spent a good little more money on that, and a lot of people traveled. Now here, we flash forward to August 14, 2017. A group of protesters in Durham, North Carolina pulled down that same Confederate statue outside a government building on Monday evening. The statue, called the Confederate Soldiers Monument, was dedicated to the city in 1924. An inanimate object, not bothering anybody really, and stands outside a government building that houses offices such as the county manager and the county attorney. It depicts a soldier along with the words, "In memory of the boys who wore the gray," in reference to the color of the Confederate forces during the Civil War. The monument also features a seal engraved with the Confederate States of America. The action took place just 2 days after the violence erupted in Charlottesville, Virginia, when protesters clashed with the white nationalists, and I would say white supremacists are different, like I've said before, than white nationalists, but rallying against the removal of another Confederate statue. The group in Durham gathered outside the old Durham County Courthouse, according to local CBS affiliate WNCN. A woman used a ladder, the same woman that was arrested, to climb up the statue around 7 p.m. and tied a rope to it. Others then pulled the rope, toppling the statue to the ground, and it bent. Protesters can be seen kicking the statue violently and celebrating its fall in videos taken at the scene. Videos that will be shown here in just a moment. It's a long, raw footage. The crowd was chanting phrases such as, "We are the revolution," and "No KKK, no fascist USA." Other breaking news says that protesters in Durham topple Confederate statue downtown. After taking down the statue, protesters marched down Durham's main street chanting, "I believe that we will win." Durham protesters continued their march in an effort to smash white supremacy. And then there was a Facebook event that encouraged people to attend the event on Monday, called for attendees to stand in solidarity with Charlottesville anti-racist and anti-fascist supremacists or activists, and said protesters wanted to build a movement to smash white supremacy. The statue the group targeted is county property, according to WNCN, and a Durham County spokesperson told the news station that it may be difficult to remove the statue permanently due to a North Carolina state law passed a few years ago. Durham County is prohibited from removing or making substantial alteration to historical documents and memorials. Don Dudley, a spokesperson, told WNCN. I share this to say that there is a statute in place making the efforts you mentioned below difficult to move forward. I would assume that the only thing possible are steps to reverse the law. And this is Peter Boykin from Maga First News, and we're going to play those clips here in just a moment.
The Durham County Sheriff's Department reminded leftists that the department has jurisdiction over the criminal act of the toppling of a Confederate memorial statue in Durham, North Carolina. Authorities said they will be looking to arrest those who brought it down. Those responsible could then face 10 years in prison, according to Breitbart. Durham County Sheriff Mike Andrews released a statement acknowledging that his officers were present as the statue was being removed by protesters, but that they made no arrests at the time, preferring to focus on their larger goal of ensuring no citizens were hurt during the protest. Instead, Sheriff Andrews had some officers record the event. The department is now identifying people in the recording and moving out to make arrests. Sheriff Andrews' department achieved their main priority of protecting the public from physical harm, as there were no deaths or major injuries at the event. However, the sheriff is not blind to other unsavory consequences of the protest, stating, "The planned demonstration should serve as a sobering example of the price we all pay when civil disobedience is no longer civil." There is doubt that any of the leftist protesters were aware that destruction of government property, as outlined in the U.S. Attorney's Criminal Resource Manual, comes with a hefty maximum penalty of 10 years in jail. The cultural cost of this crime may be higher. It signals that leftists may have little understanding of American history and are unaware of the unifying effect of Confederate memorials such as this one. The Confederate Soldiers Monument in Durham, dedicated in 1924, features a soldier holding a rifle. It was intended to pay respects to American veterans, as denoted by the inscription, "In memory of the boys who wore the gray." Despite giving their lives for the U.S. to move forward, the left does not appear interested in honoring the veterans. The display ripping down this Confederate statue seems to prove that the left can't or won't hold dialogue with whom they disagree, nor can they accept nuanced and or factually correct but contrary views of history. This may be the product of liberal, agendized educators. Regardless, their totalitarian attitudes and false feelings of invulnerability will not protect them from the law. The Durham County Sheriff's Department says they will arrest those who toppled a Confederate memorial statue in Durham, North Carolina. Should these persons be criminally prosecuted? Every leftist who pulled down the statue, kicked, or spit on it, will be found by the Sheriff's Department. The video evidence of their criminal actions is irrefutable. Not knowing it was government property won't work as a defense. The law specifically excludes it. Jail time will be sobering for these activists, but isn't likely to change their misconceptions of Confederate soldiers. These young adults should be instructed to conduct research into the statue they so flippantly destroyed, and the life and thoughts of the Confederate soldiers whose memory they so denigrated. After all, the only way to unify this country is to eliminate the liberal bias from American history and current affairs. The lies spun by the media and progressive educators have come to their natural conclusion. They must be stopped from escalating even further. What do you think?
No KKK, no fascist USA! No cops, no KKK!
We know that once you get a victory, it's up for you, right? So let's go. Who keeps us safe?
Keep us safe. The cops, the Klan, the same damn man. Same damn man. The cops, the Klan, the 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 same damn man.
That is right, Deborah. We're continuing to move down Main Street right now. This group is hundreds strong. Photojournalist Andrew Cumby with WRAL will pan, and you'll get to see that this mob of people is on the move. They call themselves anti-racist, anti-fascist. A lot of their emotions were stirred, as you might imagine, from the events over this past weekend that took place in Charlottesville, Virginia. They say that they are, again, against racism, against fascism, and they felt that this statue, this Confederate statue in downtown Durham, was an exact representation of what they were against. And so we were told, as the rally they were holding there earlier, we were told during that rally that they had a planned action. After about an hour and some change into that rally, they grabbed a ladder, they put it on the back of that monument, put a strap around the monument, and pulled it down to the ground. At this moment, they say they want to march to the new site of the Durham Police Department. They also obviously have their issues with police and how police are policing the city. They're concerned about a number of things, and they're 100 strong here to show those concerns they have. As you mentioned, they are blocking a number of streets in downtown Durham. Where they initially held their rally, that area was blocked off specifically for their rally by police to keep them safe, but they're no longer in that confined area at this point. But again, this rally continues to go, and there's no indication of when it might wrap up, but right now it is blocking things pretty severely in downtown Durham. Deborah?
Fuck Donald Trump!
Well, it started around the old court. For those familiar with downtown Durham, it started in near the old courthouse. Apologize for some of the language you might be hearing. It started around the old courthouse and is now at the corner of Main and Dillard, and continues to move as well. So we've covered about 3 or 4 blocks, and I think the reason maybe you don't see so much traffic, Deborah, is because police, I would think, assumed something like this might happen and moved quickly to get ahead of this mob and block off streets where they could.
Black lives, they matter here. 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 Fuck white supremacy! 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 Now it's fuck white supremacy! Fuck white supremacy! Fuck the police! Fuck white supremacy! Fuck the police! Fuck white supremacy! Fuck the police! Fuck white supremacy! Fuck the police!
I'm still live streaming now. So we're still live streaming right there. I guess so. I thought it was the other one. I didn't realize it. Yeah, I didn't realize it.
El pueblo, stand up, fight back!
Oh, there we go.
What do we do? Stand up, fight back! Stand up, fight back! Stand up, fight back! Stand up, fight back! Stand up and fight back!
You got a great coming up. Watch out.
the new police headquarters. Shame! 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 Shame!
This site is where the city of Durham is spending $71 million, $71 million of our dollars, to build a second police station downtown. Folks are saying that in Charlottesville, the police were not doing their job. The police in Charlottesville were doing their job. The police in the United States were formed in order to catch runaway slaves, to hunt down and kill indigenous folks, to murder people of color. That's right. The police, their job is to protect the Klan, and that's what they did. Their job is not to protect us. Their job is to protect property, to protect the Nazis, to protect the Klan, to protect everyone that is here to protect white supremacy and to protect private property.
That's right. That's right.
Back up, we want freedom, freedom from these racist ass cops. We don't need them, need them. Back up, we want freedom, freedom from these racist ass cops. We don't need them, need them. Back up, we want freedom, freedom from these racist ass cops. We don't need them, need them. Back up, we want freedom, freedom from these racist ass cops. We don't need them, need them. Back up, we want freedom, freedom from these racist ass cops. We don't need them, need them. Hey! All right, y'all. What was that? So everyone here today, everyone who lives in Charlottesville, everyone who lives their life as a black person or a brown person in Durham knows that we are in a war. The United States, the cops, the Klan, the Nazis are at war against people of color, and they have been since inception of this nation. And now we're seeing the war of fever pitch, deportation, incarceration. Nisi Patel of the city of Durham, who was killed in Durham County Jail. We're seeing so many of our neighbors and friends in the city killed by police. People killed in Charlottesville by the Klan and the complicity of the police. This is a war. Are we ready? Yeah! Are we going to leave anybody behind? Yeah! Are we going to leave unvaccinated people behind? Yeah! Are we going to leave people inside jails and prisons in this country behind? Yeah! Are we going to leave children behind? Yeah! Are we going to leave people of color behind? Yeah! Immigrants behind? Yeah! What are we going to do when they come with us with the good person, bad person, whatever? We're going to
memorialized in that statue. Now everyone is gathered here. They're blocking traffic on Main Street. They block traffic on Roxborough Street. Police here staying very distant. And on the other side here, the reason they came here is because this is going to be the new headquarters of the Durham Police Department. Everything that happened, they're blaming police for a bunch of white liberals, and this land is our land, right? I mean, it's so Black Lives Matter, if I need to and it's being lost. It's being without context. We cannot allow liberalism to sanitize the revolutionary fighting spirit of the civil rights movement. We do not like it. We will not sit and smile and give you a flower while our people burn. I wanted to offer the rest of the program from the demonstration, and we have one more eyewitness account from Charlottesville. Jose, are you interested?
How y'all doing? Are y'all mad like me? My clothes, this is what I wore on Saturday. This still burns. If I hugged you, I'm sorry, but this clothes still has pepper spray in it. And I'm mad. That burns, but what burns more is every monument to genocide, apartheid, and violence, like this prison, or this police headquarters, and like that statue that we just toppled over. Today, we are winning, and we cannot forget that. When they murdered Heather, that was our victory march, like our comrade said earlier. Black, brown, victory is such a threat that they have to murder us in order to be able to put us down. But are we going to let them put us down? No! What did you say? No! What are we going to do when people are under attack? Stand up! What are we going to do? Stand up! There is no such thing as innocence. Innocence has been obliterated. Black and indigenous people in this land have never had the privilege of being able to be innocent. So if you think you have innocence, choke on yours.
Folks, apparently in Durham, North Carolina, there is a storm brewing, because I don't know exactly when it happened, but from what I just heard, is that there was a group in Durham, North Carolina that protested, and they tore down a historical statue. I'll show you the tweet I just put out. Let's start that from the beginning. Now, like I stated, surely this must be the hateful right. I mean, right? Oh, they're liberal leftists? Nah, but they're so peaceful. Eh, too, Durham? So, folks, I don't know what's going on here. I used to live in Durham many, many moons ago, and yes, Durham has a high crime rate. Durham has a lot of bad things. Being Duke, okay? Duke's never been fully liberal. They've had a lot of Republicans there. I mean, they're Duke. And they've got a lot of people. I don't know about a lot of liberals, and we never really had too much problem. Though I did live in the Duke Park area, and the neighbors there were just so freaking liberal that they had such a pretty view of the world. They put a Duke Park sign up that was in copper. Guess how long that was up? About a day. Somebody stole the copper. You had people, kept getting on the listserv, and this is where I got away from being Democrat or liberal, because I saw how stupid they were. They would clear their cars out and unlock their vehicles and park on the side streets because they were afraid somebody might break their window. So they kind of caved to the terrorists. People would come and knock on their doors and ask for money or something like that, and we would tell them, instead of them saying, hey, keep them at the door until the police comes, until, basically these people be staking their places out, all right, to rob them later. But yet they wouldn't do anything. On the listserv, it would be, the Duke Park listserv, they would be contacting, and then we would be constantly telling people, what are you doing? What are you doing? We had neighbors on the end, on the corner. There happened to be a lot of Mexican people, some of them very nice. They were all crammed in a house, roach-infested house. They one day tried to come over and buy our little neighbor girl. Sick people. Though these are the same Mexicans that basically said that it's okay for you to be gay if they paid for it. It's okay if you cheat on your wife if you paid for it. It's okay to get drunk, basically, in Durham because, the cops won't do anything. They literally drove home one time and they were drunk. They were drunk. Full of beer cans out of their vehicle. The cop let them go because they didn't want to do anything about it. Anytime we had a police event that happened, 43 cops would show up at our house for nothing. One time my husband was joking about rape, kind of joking. Our neighbor, who knew clearly we were just joking, called the police. Cops swarmed our house. But they wouldn't do anything about it. They wouldn't write a report. I once got hit by a Mexican group. And I followed them. Followed them to the streets. Got there. Had to go. I sat there. I was sitting there. The police sitting there. I wasn't sure about the neighborhood. I said, I'm going to go home. I'll go get my husband. I came back with him. The police actually told me that they didn't want to do a report because we probably couldn't identify who they were anyway. No, they all look different. I'm sorry. They don't all look the same. That's racist. So, they actually told us then, even though they got mad because we left the area, and I had their tag and everything, they actually told me I should leave because it's a dangerous area. Even though there's a police officer there. Because they found something in that car, but they wouldn't do anything for me. I don't know how many times in Durham, North Carolina, they'd take us and tell us to go to the magistrate, but yet the magistrate wouldn't do anything. I got sick of living in Durham. Durham is a sanctuary city. Durham is not a good place to live. But we moved out many years ago. Now, apparently in 2010, Durham had a reformation. Downtown used to be horrible at night. You wouldn't want to go at night. And there was nobody there. There was no clubs. There was no nothing. But they said in 2010 there's been a lot of clubs and things opening up. Now, I drove through there the other night. I've been kind of fearful to drive. And I actually found it really nice. I saw clubs, outside clubs, lots of people walking through the streets. And I'm like, well, it's good for a college town. They can forget what happened. There was people getting murdered and killed in the streets. There's people walking down the streets like a major metropolis on a Saturday night. It's actually pretty nice. But today I open up Twitter and I see that there's a sign here that says fuck Trump, and it says no KKK, no Nazis, and they even said no cops. I swear I heard that. It's hear this. No cops, no KKK, no fascist USA. Then they tear down this statue. Somehow they got the statue roped. They had this big crowd. I don't see any police. But I'm telling you this, I don't know what's going on. None of these people look like Duke students. Duke doesn't start up till next week. Duke students usually don't do this kind of stuff. Chapel Hill students don't do this kind of stuff. I know last year I set up at the Gay Pride and we did have to deal with some Black Lives Matter people. And all we said was all lives mattered. They got in an issue. Police had to come and take care of it. But I don't know what's going on. I think there's paid actors going on in this. And definitely, I'm in the area. I think I should go to Durham and kind of check it out. I don't know. I know that Durham is not far up the street from Hillsborough, and everybody knows there was that fire bombing at the Hillsborough GOP, which, you know, it's off the road some, so it was kind of easy for them to do it, which was funny. It was kind of weird that they also parked the Trump van or whatever bus there, and I'm like, man, you're just itching for somebody to do something to that. But I don't know what's going on, folks. Durham seemed to be horrible at one time. They were a sanctuary city. They seem to be getting better. They seem to be working on the crime. They still have crime. You need to stay to the main streets. But strictly, you've got to be careful. Yeah, if you've got an ad if you've got an ad or anything out there for Durham, I'd like to look up and see if there's a classified ad, because there's definitely people paying these people to do this. And it's not good, folks. Now I actually worry about, and regardless of what you say about statues or not, I kind of get in disagreement with my husband, who's biracial, on this, though he does agree, and he actually come up with it. He does come up with it. He came up with first that they should take all these statues. If they have a problem with them, they should take all the statues, they should move them somewhere, and we should have a big Civil War memorial. Now, I went to Washington, D.C., and up on the Arlington Mansion is Lee's mansion. So maybe they could put the memorials up there, have a Civil War memorial. We can just get over it. You know, if the places want to get rid of the memorials, at least they'll put them somewhere. They shouldn't be destroying them. People should pay. This thing has been, this monument in Durham, and I lived in Durham, and I never recognized this. I'm trying to figure out where this is so I can find out where it is. They said it's downtown, and I don't remember a monument, and I don't remember ever having any problems with it. But when you're going to let mobs take control and tear down things, that's something wrong. And these people are on video. And I hope they use video recognition software to start arresting folks. They need to do something about this. People are losing their minds. And police are not doing their jobs. Now, I saw a lot of police around the city. They seem to be doing fine. These people do not seem like Duke people. I think there's actors at play going around causing problems. And I will note, there is a Confederate statue, I believe, in Graham, North Carolina, not too far down the street at the old courthouse. They have cameras on it. They've had the protests there before. There's been KKK versus the people. Hell, they had KKK, then they had they had the Black Panthers. They had all sorts of mix, but that came out actually peaceful. It's kind of weird. They were protesting at the same time, but they still ended up being peaceful, and they left it be. But I think the next probably target for them will be Graham, North Carolina. So they need to keep an eye on the statue. Regardless of what you think, folks, history is history. Now, like I've said it before, there's a big difference between a white nationalist and a white supremacist. Because a white nationalist is just a nationalist. They just brand us as white. I'm white. Last time I checked. Kind of pinkish. I'm also a nationalist. I love this country. I guess that would make me a, quote, white nationalist. But I sure as hell am not a white supremacist. I've said it before, and I've said it before, and I've said it before. No race is above any other race. Period. But we're going to keep on the news on this and more on MAGA First News with Peter Boykin here on MAGA 1 Radio. God bless everybody. We'll see you in just a little bit.
You are listening to
watch as this group of people, I think it just happened, gather around this, attach a strap to the head of the statue and pull it down. Now, I'm sure it'll be applauded by the left. They don't like these statues. That's fine. Well, there it is right there. Watch this. I think this just happened, okay? There it is. Now, I'm not exactly sure where this is, but it's clearly a public space. There are no police to be seen. And my question is, if a crowd of people with strong political views can destroy a statue, why can't they set your house on fire? I mean, in other words, why doesn't this stuff accelerate into something really dangerous? Why wouldn't it?
Well, that's a great question. And Tucker, it almost happened on Berkeley, on the Berkeley campus, where they literally almost set the building on fire. You know what needs to happen here? You need to go back to the old Rudy Giuliani approach after Crown Heights. You mentioned the David Dinkins era before with the Crown Heights riots. I remember that. I was a cop in the Giuliani era. And the Giuliani theorem was, you throw a bottle, you're going to jail. The guy behind you throws a bottle, he goes to jail too. Nobody gets a free pass. And you know what happens? People learn really quickly that that's not going to go down that way in New York.
Our team coverage kicks off tonight in Durham, where protesters toppled a Confederate statue outside of the old courthouse. Those moments taking offline, we brought them to you via our Facebook live stream. Our Amy Cutler there for all of it. Amy.
Sharon, Sean, it happened really quickly. Beside me here on the part of that monument, a part of the marble is now resting. Now, deputies with the Durham County Sheriff's Department were monitoring the situation, but they didn't intervene. And tonight, we're also hearing from the governor. In a tweet, Roy Cooper wrote, "The racism and deadly violence in Charlottesville is unacceptable, but there is a better way to remove these monuments." Hashtag Durham.
When I say people, you say power, people.
It started small, just several dozen protesters gathered in front of Durham's old courthouse, but it quickly grew.
What happened was wrong. People associated with the alt-right are white supremacists, they're Nazis. It's not okay.
What happened in Charlottesville sparked tonight's rally. A 32-year-old woman killed and dozens more injured after a car rammed into a crowd of people protesting a Unite the Right march.
I witnessed bloodshed. I witnessed bodies stacked on top of each other, lying on the ground here.
Some were in Charlottesville over the weekend. They shared what they saw and heard. That passion, that anger, fueling what we saw next. Protesters bringing in a ladder and rope in a matter of seconds, toppling a Confederate statue. The monument of a Confederate soldier had stood in front of the courthouse since 1924.
Today we got a small taste of justice.
Durham County Sheriff's deputies videotaped the statue being brought down, but didn't stop it from happening. Then those protesters started marching. They blocked traffic. Authorities trying to stay ahead of them. They made their way down East Main Street to the site of the new police department.
Seeing so many people and seeing such a diverse group of people was really empowering.
Protesters vowing to return to continue to make their voices heard. Back out here live, you can see where part of that monument has been toppled. Now, county commissioners did meet tonight, and while they didn't talk about this monument, they did pass a city-county joint resolution supporting the people of Charlottesville. Now, the big question remaining here is what, if any, charges these protesters who toppled this monument will face. We reached out to the county, and we still have not heard back. Live in Durham, I'm Amy Cutler, CBS, North Carolina.
Fortunately, he says, something inanimate was damaged rather than any person being hurt. After toppling the statue here behind me, the protesters who were in attendance also marched, blocking traffic down several streets here in downtown Durham before finally dispersing. Back to you.
Adam Owens, live in Durham. Thank you.
Deborah, Gerald, it was loud and passionate at times. It was also clear they intended to bring that statue down earlier this evening. You can see a piece of it still remains on the ground here behind me. After holding a rally on the steps of the old courthouse for quite some time, they worked together to get up that statue. Protesters in downtown Durham chose this spot for a reason. They call this Confederate statue outside the old courthouse a symbol of oppression and racism. So with a ladder and a strap, they brought it down. The
call attention to how many states here in the South still have these Confederate monuments, still have these symbols that are emboldening and giving strength to the Nazis and the KKK.
Cosima Weidman was among the demonstrators and says symbols like this statue feel like a personal attack.
The state is at war with me and with people like me.
Organizers of this protest say they are anti-racist and anti-fascist. This event was a response to demonstrations over the weekend in Charlottesville, where one protester was killed.
We are strong when we are united.
Alyssa Ellis was at that demonstration in Charlottesville. We talked with her just before the statue in downtown Durham was brought down.
We showed out to make racists afraid again, to shout down the Nazis.
Scott Holmes is an assistant professor of law at NC Central. He was observing the protest before the statue was toppled when we caught up with them.
I really hope that folks have conversations that are civil, but it's also important to name racism and name class and name gender discrimination.
Authorities, police or deputies did not appear to step in as that statue was coming down. This is county property, and we have reached out to the sheriff's office but have not heard back, at least at this hour, on any possible charges or arrests surrounding this vandalism. Earlier tonight, though, we did talk to Durham Mayor Bill Bell about the damage here. He told us it's unfortunate but not surprising given the environment we're in. Fortunately, he says, something inanimate was damaged rather than any person being hurt. After toppling the statue here behind me, the protesters who were in attendance also marched, blocking traffic down several streets here in downtown Durham before finally dispersing. Back to you.
Adam Owens live in Durham. Thank you.
Just moments ago, one of the women that toppled the Confederate monument was arrested.
CBS North Carolina's AJ Janivo is there live in Durham. AJ?
Yeah, guys, I just want to show you exactly what happened. We're standing in front of the communications building here at Central, and that is where just a few minutes ago there was a press conference with members of the protesters who were there yesterday in front of the county commissioner's building who brought down that statue. Now, what they told us is that they have demands. They do not want anyone to be arrested who was in connection to that event yesterday. We just found out earlier today that county and city officials were looking to arrest the people involved. And during this incident is when the people who were out here were arrested. There was one person who spoke, one person who told us that they were on top of the statue, a part of bringing it down. The people who were here said that an undercover police officer waited for the event to end, and that is when they waited to bring that person in. We spoke to some of the people who were here earlier in the day about exactly what they're looking for.
The statue in Durham, North Carolina said, "To the boys who wore the gray." And if we understand history, we know that those boys who wore gray today, they wear blue and they wear sheets over their heads, and they beat up black people, and they beat up Latino people, Latinx people, excuse me, and they beat up queer people, and that is the agenda. It's white supremacy, plain and simple.
And again, I just want to reiterate, this happened within the last 5
minutes. Tuning back in with MAGA 1 Radio, Peter Boykin on MAGA First News. So, as we've seen, Durham has also fell victim to the Antifa, and there's been that statue that fell. We just went over some of the clips from it, and It's horrible that they're doing this. They're trying to spread their message. I'm not sure. I've got to get the account, but I heard that the governor of North Carolina said something about how they needed to remove all the statues from North Carolina. I don't think that should happen. Now, or my husband disagrees with me. He says they all should remove all the statues and take them somewhere, because they are statues from the past and they're from a defunct nation, and they're triggering. And he's not a Antifa or anything like that. He believes, he's the first one that told me that they really should take them all, move them somewhere, and put a Civil War memorial somewhere to try to cause all this problems. Anybody who wants to go see them can go see them. If anybody wants the statues, they can pick them up, take them to private property. But the destruction of these, like the way they did in Durham, is extremely, extremely wrong. I'm still working on trying to get a personal interview with Jason Kessler. Hopefully in the future we'll have that. I've been reaching out. He did reach out back to me because I wanted to find out a little bit more on his side of the things. As we saw the press conference a few days ago or so of Donald Trump, he went after the fake news media and, called out again both the left and the right and different extremist groups, and he's not taking it. So I wanted to read a little article about the arrests that were began following the Durham Confederate statue toppling. And we'll go over that real quick. Once I can get this camera to switch over. Alright, it says, arrests begin following Durham Confederate statue toppling. And if anybody recognizes the video, this woman right here, she looks like one of the women that were out there trying to push it down. So this was moments after a press conference demanding amnesty for protesters. Sheriff deputies arrested Takaya Thompson, who placed a rope around a Confederate monument Monday night. Durham, North Carolina sheriff's deputies have begun arresting protesters who tore down a monument on Confederate veterans in front of the old Durham courthouse Monday night. Takaya Thompson, who climbed a ladder and put a rope around the statue before a crowd tugged it off its base, was arrested by deputies around 4:45 p.m. immediately following a press conference at North Carolina Central University in which she had defended her actions and others demanding amnesty for all involved. A spokesperson for the sheriff's office confirmed that deputies had begun executing warrants, but she did not immediately know how many. I did the right thing, Thompson said during a Workers' World Party press conference on the steps of the building at the historically black college. Everyone who was there, the people did the right thing. The people will continue to keep making the right choices until every Confederate statue is gone, until white supremacy is gone. That statue is where it belongs and needs to be in the garbage. Thompson was one of several speakers at the press conference. Lone Tran said the group was demanding amnesty for all involved in the project, including that the sheriff's office and district attorney dropped all charges. They also wanted meetings with the county commission and criticized Governor Roy Cooper, a Democrat, for his statement Monday night that similarly pulling down statues was the wrong way to deal with them. That statue glorifies the condition that oppressed people live in, and it had to go, Thompson said. Local officials have protested that they had no power to pull the statue down, even if they wanted to, citing a law passed in 2015 that says no historical monuments can be permanently removed without permission from the state. But Tran said that excuse was unacceptable. She demanded that commissioners call for symbols to come down, and she said her group would work with them to discuss some ideas, though she didn't say what. the county's response has been somewhat bifurcated. On the one hand, the county commission released a statement that after the protest that condemned racism, but neither mentioned the statue nor criticized its removal. Sheriff Mike Andrews, however, promised during a press conference early on Tuesday to bring felony charges against those who pulled the statue down. Let me be clear, no one is getting away with what happened, Andrews said. Cooper, meanwhile, offered a more aggressive statement late Tuesday afternoon on Medium, demanding that the General Assembly repeal the law preventing removal of documents. Cities, counties, and the state must have the authority and opportunity to make such decisions, Cooper wrote. Second, it asked the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources to determine the cost and logistics of removing Confederate monuments from state property, as well as alternatives for their placement at museums and historical sites where they can be studied in context. Cooper also said legislators should reject a bill currently under consideration that would grant immunity to drivers who strike protesters in streets. Oh, that's horrible. Even as the WWP was holding its press conference, a whisper around organizers as word of raids by officers spread. About time Durham police did their job. Not long afterward, Thompson was taken into custody by deputies and bundled into an unmarked car. Officers said they had a warrant but did not display it. Moments earlier, Thompson had been arguing that today's police are agents of white supremacy. You remember those chants said, no cops, no KKK, no fascists, no in the USA, no Trump, no cops. Yeah, remember that? And I don't understand the white people walking around with them, considering they don't like you. They don't like the white people. So the white people are like, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. It really don't make any sense. Why are you gonna have a bunch of people that don't like you? Alright, it says moments earlier, Thompson had been arguing that today's police, the agents of white supremacy and a lineage with Confederate soldiers and an alliance with the Ku Klux Klan. The statue in Durham, North Carolina said, to the boys who wore the gray, she said. If we understand history, we know that the boys who wore the gray today wear the blue, and they wear sheets over their heads. That's just crazy. Alright, well, that's how it is, folks, and this is MAGA First News with Peter Boykin. And thank you for tuning in, but we're sitting there talking about Durham, North Carolina today. I was thinking about taking a trip over to Durham, North Carolina. It'd be kind of late, though, have to be after work, and checking out the area where this happened. So, if y'all keep tuning in to MAGA 1 Radio, and this is MAGA First News with Peter Boykin. We'll be right back after this.
Antifa activist WHO knocked down Confederate statue found and arrested by police. The woman behind the protest that brought down a Confederate statue at the Durham County, North Carolina, courthouse on Monday has been arrested, and the sheriff who made the arrest vows more arrests are coming. Let me be clear, no one is getting away with what happened, Durham County Sheriff Mike Andrews said. Terkiah Thompson, a student at North Carolina Central University, seemed surprised after she was arrested following a press conference in which she admitted a role in the protest. Thompson claims to be a member of Workers' World Party and said she took down the statue because she was afraid of it. It's white supremacy, plain and simple, Thompson said. And it had to go. She said she could no longer live in fear knowing a statue erected in 1924 stood at the courthouse. Thompson can be seen in a video tying a rope around the Confederate statue's neck, which others used to pull it to the ground and stomp on it. The Confederate Soldiers Monument was dedicated in 1924 on the courthouse grounds. There was a report that Thompson started a GoFundMe campaign to raise money for her legal defense, but no such campaign was found on the website. It is unclear if it was removed or if it never existed. Sheriff's deputies were at the protest, but did not intervene, fearing a riot. They did record the events to use as evidence against the vandals later. The Herald Sun reports. Thompson was charged with participation in a riot with property damage in excess of $1,500, Class H felony, and inciting others to riot where there is property damage in excess of $1,500, Class F felony, the sheriff's office said. She also was charged with disorderly conduct by injury to a statue and damage to real property, both misdemeanors. At the press conference, activists demanded all charges be dropped and that Governor Roy Cooper call for immediate removal of all Confederate statues across the state. At the press conference, activists demanded all charges be dropped and that Governor Roy Cooper call for immediate removal of all Confederate statues across the state. The group also demanded Durham city and county leaders attend mass public forums to allow the community to speak out about their concerns for public display of Confederate statues. In a social media post Tuesday, Cooper announced he was calling upon the legislature to repeal a 2015 law that prevents removal or relocation of monuments. Cities, counties, and the state must have the authority and opportunity to make these decisions, he said. My first responsibility as governor is to protect North Carolinians and keep them safe, Cooper said. The likelihood of protesters being injured or worse as they may try to topple any one of the hundreds of monuments in our state concerns me. And the potential for those same white supremacist elements we saw in Charlottesville to swarm the site, weapons in hand, in retaliation.
No time arresting people in connection with pulling down a Confederate statue earlier this week. Takia Thompson is already charged with a felony, is now trying to get out of jail. Yesterday, police arrested and charged a 24-year-old man and a 35-year-old man for their roles in helping pull down the statue. What did they do? They used video and cheers.
On Tuesday, Takia Thompson was arrested on 2 charges of felony inciting a riot and 3 misdemeanor charges: injury to personal property, injury to real property, and defacing a statue. She spoke in Durham just before she was arrested.
I think what we did was the best way. And not just the best way, but the only way, because the state and the Klan and white supremacists have been collaborating, right? So what we did, not only was it right, it was just. I did the right thing. Everyone who was there, the people did the right thing. And the people will continue to keep making the right choices until every Confederate statue is gone, until white supremacy is gone. That statue is where it belongs, right? It needs to be in the garbage, incinerated. Like every statue, every Confederate statue and every vestige of white supremacy, it has to go.
Takia Thompson speaking in Durham, North Carolina. Shortly after she spoke, she was arrested, given a $10,000.
So the sheriff has just decided that people
Guys, I understand y'all are filming, but if you would please just back up a little bit. We'll go to the 380.
Okay. Yeah. No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA.
No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. No.
shot from the backside, being lit from the front by the street light.
Boycott them! Boycott them! Let them know we will boycott you. Your malls will be empty. Your businesses will be empty. We will not stop until you obey the will of the people.
Move back, they're saying, trying to get some space away from their police headquarters. And of course, we absolutely comply with police when they say move back. Jackson Street.
Overnight, Duke University removed this statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee from the campus's chapel entrance. It happened on a week when another monument was toppled by protesters in the same college town. Across the country, the debate over the future of the past is raging.
I think that the statues have become touchstones for terrorism.
A monumental fight from Charlottesville to Baltimore to Lexington, Kentucky, where cheers broke out after the city council approved a resolution to move two statues. In Birmingham, Alabama, the mayor ordered this obelisk covered by wooden panels, prompting a lawsuit. Tonight in Dallas, a rally near this Confederate War Memorial.
These monuments celebrate the Confederacy and the preservation of slavery and the Treason Act that led to the Civil War.
Nationwide, there are about 700 Confederate monuments in public spaces. According to a new poll this week, just 27% of Americans say Confederate monuments should be removed, while 62% think they should stay.
I want this to be about remembering our past. I want to make sure that we're not throwing away pieces of history that we don't want to think about.
This debate is about more than just statues. There are 10 Army posts throughout the South named for Confederate generals, including the nation's largest, Fort Bragg in North Carolina. Tonight here in Dallas, there will be a heavy police presence for tonight's rally, which is about to get underway.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.
Duke University has now removed a Robert E. Lee statue from the Duke Chapel entrance. It was vandalized on Wednesday night. Officials say the decision to remove the statue was done to ensure the safety of students and community members, and to also express the university's values.
You are listening.
Yeah. Okay.
You my #1 radio.
Yeah. Okay.
Maga first.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you ever feel so bad inside?
You are moving through Maga first news with Peter Boykin on Maga 1 radio.
Grant, I can read this. but I love you now to the full. I love black people. I love black people so much. My Grindr profiles once said no whites. Alas, some black people, the ones calling about Black Lives Matter, don't love me as much as I love them. And after everything I've done for the black community. So, if they got a problem with me now, they're going to have a problem with me. Oh, that's probably the best one. Yeah. Response to King's claims his mother had slept around on simple. Take a DNA test. Claims were true. Taking a DNA for putting up results in a public record matter once for all. He still hasn't done so. So we're going to move this. We're going to move this over. We're going to move this over. I'm not all right, and I'm not in the Klan.
You don't mind if I get a photo?
Go ahead. Alright, folks. So, reading this at the Durham statue. I hope y'all can see this. It says, response to King's claim that his mother had slapped around a symbol taken DNA test. If his claims were...
Hey, before you get going again, I'm Jason. I'm a photographer.
Hey, how's it going?
Do you mind if I get your name?
Yeah, sure. It's Peter Boykin, president of Gates for Trump.
Cool. So, hang on 1 second. Let me get a fresh page here. Peter, you said you say Peter, correct?
Yep, Peter.
P-E-T-E-R?
Yep, P-E-T-E-R.
And your last name, sir?
Boykin, B-O-Y-K-I-N.
And you said you are the president of
Gates
for Trump? Okay. Wonderful. Are you guys located here in Durham?
No, I used to live in Durham a while back. I'm all over.
Okay. I'm interested. I want to hear what you thought about. Thanks, Peter. Have a nice
You're
day.
welcome.
Do you lean one way or another?
I am a conservative, but I'm not an alt-right. Definitely not an alt-right. I hate the alt-right. I hate the alt-left. I don't like fascism. I don't like Nazis. I don't like communists. I'm for gay rights.
You for gay rights?
I'm for gay rights. People actually have to understand I am for gay rights. There's no gay rights being done by a statue. This has nothing to do. This is a statue. And this is a crazy statue. This was no person. This was just an individual. And we had plenty of room where they could have put in maybe for everybody, you know. But bad enough to tear it down, and the next day they gotta come back and mess it up even more. They realize there's more statues there. It's all about wars and everything. So.
I should have smacked the fuck out on right now, y'all. Smack the fuck out on right now. Fuck Trump.
Okay.
Right now. But I ain't.
So am I.
Right now. That's what racism look like.
I'm not racist.
Hey, then make Trump America great again. That's what racists saying.
No, it's not.
That's all it is.
Making America great again is all about for everybody. It's not a racist saying.
Smack the fuck out you
It's
right
not a
now.
racist saying. Because my biracial husband would come and smack the hell out of you, so, you know. Oh, yeah, he would. So, we're not trying to get in fights, so. You can put me, my name is Peter Boykin. Look me up on Twitter, at Peter Boykin, president of Gays for Trump. I'm not hiding. Got it in my face like you want me out. You got it in my face like you want me out.
I would really smack the fuck out you right now.
Dude, go on somewhere.
I'm
not trying to get in an argument with you.
You're racist, yo.
I'm not a racist. I live in a multicultural neighborhood, and I have people who come to my door all day long.
Fuck you, I'll smack you.
Well, nice having conversation with y'all. No, these people want us out to argue with me. Nobody's a Nazi.
Milo's
Milo's is not a Nazi.
Milo is
Jewish.
man.
No,
Put the fucking hat on.
No, we're gonna change
Put the
that.
fucking hat on. Come on.
Stop.
Come on, eh?
No. I put American hat on.
There you go. There you go.
So what? It's America. Y'all can have your day. Enjoy.
Yeah, no, we got our day.
Whatever.
We got our fucking day.
Enjoy your day. Enjoy your day.
Have your day. What is that? Get your fucking day.
Enjoy your day. This is Peter Boykin from Maga First News. We thank you for tuning back in. Yes, we saw a lot of different things going on. Those are a lot of scenes from Durham, North Carolina, where they tore down that statue. And we'll talk about it in detail, but as you see in the next clips, you're going to see that I decided that after they had this statue toppled down, that was not enough for them. I had already planned on going to the statue. You're going to see in a couple clips where I went the day at nighttime to check out the statue. Saw that on the opposite side there's a World War I memorial and some other memorials. I'll talk about that in detail. But I went there. Not a lot went on that night. I decided I'll go back during the day because I really wanted to read Milo's book, Dangerous, and a Dangerous Place. Hashtag reading dangerously. In an area. Did not know really what I was putting myself into. A lot of guts. It's getting to me more after the fact, but you're going to see in the clips what happened. And from the news, they claimed that no violence or anything happened. Though I found out that after the fact that people had weapons like axes and things, and you're going to see that. And a bigger group of protesters came back again, and Durham was not prepared again for this. And they seemed not to be prepared that night afterwards as well. But what they did is they also desecrated that monument once again. Now, after all this, I actually found out that Duke University had a statue, I think of Robert E. Lee, that they actually took down. Now, understanding that's private property, if they want to take that down, then if not have any problems, that's probably good on them. So, no problem with them taking it down. It's their property, their statue. Again, we've already discussed that Durham, North Carolina would have had a hard time removing this statue. So people take it in their own hand, and they tore down the statue on their own reconnaissance and went against the law. But we're going to talk about it. And it was me versus Black Lives Matter and Antifa. And I blew that narrative. So this is what we're going to talk about. And we're going to play the clips here in just a moment. So take a look. And we're open for discussion. So this has been a wild week, folks. But this is not the end of the story. So thank you for tuning in. Here's the clips. Maga First News, Peter Boykin.
North Carolina, just what happened? We find out next on Maga First News. We find out next on Maga First News. Let's go.
Sorry guys, it's a little dark. I'm going to be back here on Friday during the day. I don't want to come down here and inspect the damage. See, that's where the regular statues are. I always wanted to see what this looked like. So this one says, dedicated to those that served the World War 1917 to 1919. Sorry for being so dark. And this one says, Roll of Honor from 1941 to 1944. In honor of those who answered their country's call in World War II. And then this one talks about Korea, which is in honor of those 23 brave heroes in Korea. So let's see, and this one is Vietnam. Huh. Vietnam 1958 to 1975. In honor of those 39 brave heroes. Durham County who died serving the United States of America. So they got a Vietnam memorial, a Korea memorial. There's a little eagle on top of it. I got a World War II memorial. And well, got a World War I memorial. Let's see, what's this thing I got here? Sorry for being a little dark. I don't know if I can turn my flashlight on. Let's see here. Flashlight. Oh, unable to use the flashlight while I've got a camera on. What's this thing? Malvern Angler. Assembly of the State Mayor of Durham, Chairman. So look, they're doing construction on the courthouse. Look, and I'm going to tell you, literally right behind this building is the sheriff's department. So this is where, let's see, in memory of the boys who wore the gray. And this is, I guess, where they tore it down or whatever. So 1860, in a memorial erected by the people of Durham County is what it says. On the back, it's got, I don't know, it doesn't have anything on the back. And I apologize for it being dark. I work pretty late, so I've been wanting to get over here. I'm going to come back here tomorrow during the day, probably before it gets too dark. It says dedicated May 10th, 1924, but you see it's empty on the top. So, yeah, there's a lot of people walking around. Sorry folks, it's a little dark, but got my hat out. There's the statue. Somebody wants to start messing with me, then here's their chance. But I'm at the Confederate statue. Talk to you later. Ugh. Well, they did. A whole bunch of little statues over here. Take one picture. I'll be back here tomorrow during the day when there's some actual light out. It's not so sketchy. So, share and tweet this. I'm here in Durham, North Carolina, where the statue is. People like walking around, so. Alright, see, it's missing. Alright, I'm going to take a picture before I leave. I'll talk to y'all later. Maga.
The all-time winner, beats them one by one. Ain't no freaking quitter, making us number one. Working hard, kind of story, cleaning up the streets. He's got the guts, he gets the glory, turning up that heat. Heard the call, stepped up to the plate, not to clean up town. America's great again, 'cause the Donald holds his ground. America's great again. Donald Trump ain't backing down. What he starts, he gets done. He's the art of the deal. Always busy, on the run, reinventing the wheel. America, she's standing tall, she's standing true. America, yes, we're proud now. Shout it red, white, and blue. Heard the call, stepped up to the plate, not to clean out of town. America's great again, 'cause the Donald holds his ground. America's great again. Donald Trump ain't backing down. Heard the call, stepped up to the plate, not to clean out of town. America's great again, 'cause the Donald holds his ground. America